They thought a fancy gate could steal my land.
You can't do this! Open this gate right now!
By 6:14 that morning, the first black SUV was already leaning on the horn at a gate I had chained shut myself. 42 homes sat behind the brand new stone entrance the HOA had built across my ranch road, and the woman screaming into the keypad still thought I was bluffing. She stopped screaming when the sheriff asked her one question. "Ma'am, do you have a recorded easement for this road?" She didn't. My name's Daniel Cross, and 3 months earlier, none of this was supposed to be my problem. I own 63 acres just outside Laramie, most of it open pasture, with one gravel road cutting through the south side of the property. That road, Cottonwood Spur, had been there since my father used it to move feed trucks between winter barns. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours, deeded, taxed, and maintained by my family for 31 years. Then Silver Ridge Estates finished building next door. At first, I didn't care. New neighborhood, big houses, manicured lawns, the usual. But one Tuesday morning, I drove down to check a broken fence line and found 2 stone columns sitting 19 feet inside my property line. Not near it, inside it. They had poured a full luxury entrance across my ranch road. Keypad gata, security camera, decorative lights, a bronze sign that said Silver Ridge Private Entry. Private, on my land. I called the number on the builder's sign, and by that afternoon, the HOA president herself showed up in a white SUV, like she was arriving to inspect a tenant. Elaine Mercer. Perfect hair, gold sunglasses, that polished smile people use when they're already planning to talk over you. She told me the community had been using that road for months, and the developer had assured them access was permanent. I asked to see the easement. She said, once residents rely on a road like this, ownership gets complicated. That's when I knew she didn't have one. 2 days later, I got a letter from the HOA fining me $400 for commercial vehicle mud damage because my cattle trailer had tracked dirt across the entrance they built on my own road. That fine was the best thing they ever sent me, because now I had paper. So I pulled everything. The deed, the parcel map, old tax records. Then I paid for a fresh survey. The surveyor came back with exactly what I expected and one thing I didn't. Yes, the gate and both stone columns were on my parcel. But the power line feeding their keypad and security lights? That bill was running through a meter registered to my barn. They weren't just using my road. I was paying to lock myself out of it. So I went deeper. At the county office, I found a temporary construction access license the original developer had signed 3 years earlier. It allowed heavy equipment to cross Cottonwood Spur for 8 months while the subdivision roads were being paved. 8 months. That license had expired almost 2 years ago. No permanent easement had ever been recorded. And when I pulled the subdivision safety plan, it got even worse. Their private entrance on my ranch road was listed as the primary emergency exit for the entire neighborhood. That meant if I revoked access, 42 families had one very ugly problem, and the HOA board had one even uglier liability. I didn't argue with Elaine after that. I let them keep landscaping around the gate. I let them install flower beds. I let them hang banners for their Saturday spring fundraiser. Then I sent one certified letter. It gave the HOA and the developer 14 days to remove the gate, restore the road, and negotiate a lawful temporary access agreement. If not, permissive use of Cottonwood Spur would end at 6 a.m. on May 14th. They ignored it. Elaine actually emailed back that my demand was emotionally driven and said the community would continue using its established entrance. So at 5:40 on May 14th, I parked my truck by the cattle fence, swung my steel ranch gate across Cottonwood Spur, and locked it with 2 chains. At 6:14, the first residents started backing up behind the stone entrance, trapped between the HOA gate ahead of them and mine behind it. By 6:22, Elaine was on scene in silk workout clothes, pounding the keypad and shouting in her phone. By 6:31, the sheriff arrived. I handed him my deed, the stamped survey, the expired access license, and a copy of my certified notice. He read them in silence, then turned to Elaine and asked if she had any recorded document giving the HOA permanent use of my road. She started talking about community reliance. He asked again. She had nothing. Then the fire marshal pulled up. One of the residents had called, furious that the neighborhood's only emergency exit was blocked. The marshal reviewed the site plan, looked at the unpermitted gate structure, and cited the HOA on the spot for obstructing required emergency access and modifying the entry configuration without updated approval. That was the moment the panic became real, because while Elaine was still arguing on the shoulder, the developer's title company called me directly. They had pending closings next week. Without legal access, those sales were now exposed. By noon, the builder's attorney was at my kitchen table. By 3, the HOA signed an emergency access agreement, paid for full road restoration, reimbursed every electric bill tied to the gate system, withdrew the fine, and agreed to remove the stone entrance entirely. 30 days later, the columns were gone. The keypad was gone. The cameras were gone. And at the edge of the road, I put up one simple sign: Cottonwood Spur, private ranch access. Elaine drove past it once while the crews were finishing repairs. She didn't wave. The funny part is, I never wanted a war with that neighborhood. I just wanted people to stop building power on paper they didn't own. They thought a stone gate, a fancy sign, and enough confidence could turn my road into theirs. At 6:14 that morning, they learned confidence doesn't beat a deed.